Hello everyone, so it's time to find out some more of the Robber Hotzenplotz. This time we're going to find out what's behind that third door. Are you ready? The mysterious toad.
Stop! Stay where you are! Don't come any closer!
Caspel had hardly crossed the threshold when a harsh voice croaked these words. He was sure it was the same voice that had been sobbing. Caspel obeyed and stopped just where he was. In the light of the lantern, he saw that he was in a small, dark cellar. But the cellar had no floor. Right before Caspel's feet, the ground fell away to a deep pool of dark water. Caspel instinctively shrank back and leaned against the doorpost.
Is there anyone there?
He asked. He hardly recognised his own voice. It sounded so deep and hollow. There was a splashing, gurgling noise down in the pool.
Yes, there is someone here,
croaked the voice.
If you lie flat on the ground and look down, you can see me.
Caspel obeyed the voice again. Lying flat on the ground, he inched his way to the side of the pool and looked over the edge, holding the lantern in his outstretched hand.
I can't see you. Where are you? Down here, in the water. You must hold the lantern a little lower.
There was something swimming in the dark water. It had huge goggle eyes and a big, wide mouth.
Well, it croaked, you can see me now, can't you?
Yes, I can see you now, said Caspel.
And what would you call me?
If you were a bit smaller, I'd say you were a frog.
Wrong. I'm a toad.
Oh, said Caspel, thinking the creature looked rather big for a toad too. What are you doing down there? He added out loud.
Waiting.
What for?
I'm waiting for someone to set me free. You must know that I'm not really a toad. I'm...
Well, what? asked Caspel.
I don't know if I can trust you,
croaked the toad, who said it was not a toad.
Did Zuckerman send you?
No, said Caspel. Zuckerman doesn't know I'm here. He's gone to see another magician in Buxtehude. The toad heaved a great sigh.
Are you sure?
It asked. Positive, said Caspel. Cross my heart. Now, if you're not a toad, tell me what you are.
Once upon a time, I was a good fairy, said the toad.
A fairy?
Yes, the fairy Amaryllis. But 7 years ago I was turned into a toad, and I've been sitting in this pond ever since.
Boo-hoo! Zuckerman cast a spell over me and shut me up here. 7 years, cried Caspel. How dreadful. Why did Zuckerman do it? Because he's so wicked. He hates me, just because I sometimes interfered with his magic a little. I was too kind to him. That was how he got the better of me and turned me into a toad. Oh, an awful toad. The enchanted fairy wept bitterly. Big tears ran down her toad face. Caspel wanted to comfort her. He felt so sorry for her. But what could he do? Can I help you? He asked. Oh, yes, yes you can, sobbed the toad, wiping away the tears with her foot. All you have to do is find a certain herb called fairyweed.
It grows on the open heath a few miles from the castle. If you bring some of this herb and touch me with it, I shall be free. It dissolves wicked spells at once. Will you get it for me? Why don't you answer me?
Because, said Caspel. He stopped.
Well, because what?
Because I can't get out of here. I'm shut up in this enchanted castle too. I'll tell you all about it. Caspel told the toad about his adventures the night before. He told how he had tried to escape 3 times. If you can tell me how to get out, he finished, I'll bring you the fairyweed, but I'm afraid you won't know how.
What makes you think so? croaked the toad. I was once a fairy, remember? I know a few things about magic. You can't escape from the castle because Zuckerman has drawn a magic circle around it. But if you leave any of your clothes behind in the castle, something you wear next to your skin, you'll be free to go wherever you like.
Really and truly? asked Caspel.
Try and see, croaked the toad. You'll soon find that I've told you the truth. Your shirt would be the best thing to leave, but your hat will do, or one of your stockings."
"My hat?" asked Caspar. "It's only borrowed. It belongs to my friend, not me."
"That doesn't matter. It comes to the same thing."
"Then of course I shall leave the hat behind," said Caspar. "I shan't miss it, because it doesn't fit me anyway. Now, tell me what this fairy weed looks like and where to find it. Then I will fetch it for you." The Open Heath. Caspar made the fairy tell him exactly how to reach the open heath.
"When you get there," said the toad, "sit down under the old pine tree that stands alone by the dark pond on the heath. Wait there until the moon shines. You can only find fairy weed by moonlight. In the light of the moon it begins to shine. Then you can see the little silver flowers gleaming among the roots of the pine. When you have picked a bunch of them, you will be safe. Even Zuckerman can do you no harm then. Anyone who holds fairy weed in his hand is invisible to the wicked magician."
"Do you think he'll look for me when he comes home and finds me gone?"
"I'm sure he will. So you must try to pick a bunch of fairy weed as soon as possible. Off with you now. There's a long way to go. Good luck. Very, very good luck."
Caspar stood up and waved his lantern to the toad down in the pool.
"Goodbye," he said. "Goodbye. Don't forget to shut the doors behind you. Zuckerman must not know that you've been talking to me."
Oh, yes, the doors. Caspar had quite forgotten about them. He closed them all behind him and climbed the cellar steps. He closed the cellar doors too. Then he took a piece of bread and 2 sausages from the magician's larder and set off. He climbed through the window of his room into the kitchen garden. Then took off his hat. He was not at all sorry to part with it, and put it down in the parsley bed quite near the fence. Would it work this time? He didn't feel particularly happy thinking of last night and the way his ears had been boxed. "Oh well, I'll try it," he said to himself. "I can't do worse than before." But this time everything went smoothly. No unseen hand took Caspar by the collar and hauled him back. No one boxed his ears. Breathing a sigh of relief, he dropped onto the grass on the far side of the fence. "Oh," said Caspar, "I'd never have thought that hat of Seppel's would come in so useful." And now for the open heath. Caspar walked for several hours. He kept following the way the toad had described, first through the wood, then a little way along the high road, then on beside a brook until he reached another wood. There should be 3 birch trees here, and the middle tree should have a split trunk. Yes, there they were, and there was a footpath leading into the wood, just as the toad had said. Now Caspar had to follow this path. It was 2 hours more before he came to the open heath, and by this time evening was gradually drawing in. Caspar was glad he had found the place at last. He sat down under the pine tree beside the dark pond, took off his shoes and stockings, dangled his tired legs in the water, and waited for the moon to rise. To pass the time, he ate the bread and both the sausages. He tried hard not to think of the great magician, Petrosilius Zuckerman, but he couldn't help it. The longer he sat and waited, the more uncomfortable he felt. Was Zuckerman back from Buxtehude yet? What would he do when he found that Caspar had disappeared? "Oh, where are you, moon?" sighed Caspar. "Aren't you ever going to rise? If Zuckerman finds me before I've picked the fairy weed, it's all over. Can you hear me, moon? Come on, do come on." But the moon was taking her time. She simply would not rise. Caspar was on tenterhooks, thinking of Petrosilius Zuckerman. And we'll have to find out next week whether the moon rises and he gets his fairy weed or Petrosilius Zuckerman finds him first. Bye everyone!